Yes, I'm here waiting on you. So you found me. All right. So Seneric, awesome. Awesome. So it's that easy, right?
It's easy.
Yeah, very
Why is
easy.
it so hard?
All right, here up now. All right, so we'll pick up on the conversation we have earlier.
Yeah.
You're saying that you have persons from back then in the past that thought that spoken word would have been like a bastard of poetry, and I think it has a lot to do with ignorance because
Yeah.
the oral predates the written. So I mean, poetry must have been in an oral form before it even became in a
Yeah.
written form. I'm gonna have a problem with the written form, even though I love writing and I love reading and I do write. I think that it's a bit solitary. It can't. It's like it's not a shared experience.
Oh,
When you do spoken word, you share with people and you spark mind.
yeah.
And so I think it has an advantage over the written word in and of itself. So I think it's just as I say, I think it's ignorance. I think it's ignorance why persons would I say it's a bastard or what did you say earlier like a dog walking on his high foot
I
hind.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That was the analogy that was given by one of the critics of spoken word.
Yeah,
Um, but I mean, generally, I think in the early stages, it was
yeah,
it it wasn't understood. Like you said, it was ignorance, and so it was seen as a kind of substandard poetic. So instead of looking at spoken word as its own animal and thinking, this is a natural extension of the oral tradition, which goes back before there was the printing press. So before there were books, there was spoken word as a way, like you said, as a way to not only connect community, but create community, to create a sense of history. There wasn't literature, there was orature. So history was recorded through storytelling that was passed down generation from generation. And it's funny, a lot of biblical scholars, when they're looking at, the authenticity of the Bible as a literary document, they've reported that the oral tradition, the way that the oral tradition was recorded, was actually more was more solid in terms of information being passed, because just the way that people would learn a story, would record a story, would share a story, it was very specific. So there wasn't a lot of information that was lost. So, but anyway, so now you fast forward to when I started. I was saying that, when I started in spoken word, it was in the early 90s, and we were a bunch of kids experimenting with poetry, seeing what we could do with poetry. There was a lot of influence of theater, a lot of people experimenting with mashing up theater with poetry, people mashing up music with poetry, dub poetry started to grow. So that was a new idea. And, you know, to the States, to Oregon, um, we're checking out slam poetry. And so they started the first slam in Canada in Vancouver in the mid 90s. So we started to, go out to the slams as poets, and we were just experimenting. And so, it was kind of from these roots that the first slam happened in Canada and that spoken word really started to spread in Canada. And I think so, in the 90s, up still through the 2000s, I'd say until the last 10 years or so, there was a lot of people in the literary establishment, page poets, who were looking at what was happening and saying, this is just not good poetry, because it was different. And they didn't understand. And they didn't understand as I was saying, we were talking about earlier, the cultural connection. that when you're judging a spoken word poem by the standards that you would give to a poem on the page, you're ignoring things like the oral tradition and how it's attached to culture, especially, non-white, non-Eurocentric culture. And this is like in Canada, right? Like spoken word was being influenced by dub poetry. It was being influenced by, Aboriginal storytelling. It was being influenced by the Black poetics of the Black arts movement in the 60s, right? And like a Mary Baraka and Sonia Sanchez. It was being influenced by the Harlem Renaissance in the 1920s, and Langston Hughes, and that whole, way poetry as a vehicle for social justice. There was Colin Bond, understanding that that's part of a tradition that of Black literary culture. You have a spoken word dog over there.
All right, but you see, I have an issue with spoken word that is not able to be read as poetry on paper. I personally have an issue with that. Even though you have persons that say it's two separate there are two separate things. I believe the best spoken word can be read on paper and you still have that poetic experience. So it's a balance between the two. Is being, you're supposed to can say it and have a rhythm, but at the same time you're supposed to still maintain you're supposed to still maintain the same what I call it, the same literary devices that we make poetry. So I think it's a balance between the two, and sometimes you have us as spoken word artists where we ignore the literary devices and pay a lot of attention on the rhythm, and I don't think that is poetry in its true essence, and
Well,
I'm a spoken word poet, but
yeah.
I do believe that I still have to have the necessary literary devices them with a fine palm page,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
and that's just my perspective, my 2 cents. That's how I see it. I can't wrong. I not have all of the answers them, but
I'm
it's how I look at it.
I'm totally with you. I agree with you in terms of like that's my personal taste as well. I like poems that can perform on the page as much as they can perform live. But I would separate, like I would say that what we're talking about is poetry, right? But I would say like that's a different thing than spoken word. Spoken word and poetry are not the same thing. I would say spoken word is this umbrella, and underneath this umbrella, you have things like poems that are performed, but you also have underneath that umbrella, say, spoken word poetry that's akin to, like, I see a lot of spoken word as like mashups, right? Like dub poetry to me, some dub poetry is so oral based that it isn't necessarily meant to live on the page because you have to hear it. I'd say the same thing with some spoken word is storytelling. I know a guy named Jem Rolls. He's from Scotland, I think, UK for sure, and he does the fringe festivals here. So he does the theater festivals, and he does all his stuff from memory. He does these one-man shows, an hour long. They're spoken word for sure, but he's never written them down. He's never produced a book. He's brilliant, but stuff is more akin to storytelling. So it's like, is this spoken word? Yes. Is it poetry? Maybe not. Maybe not. But it's under that same umbrella. Some spoken word is really close to comedy, stand-up comedy. So is it spoken word? Is it stand-up comedy? Who knows? But it's, something that's fused together, or sorry, yeah, it's fused together and it's underneath the umbrella of spoken word. But maybe like
What's
not.
poetry though? What's poetry? What's poetry though?
Well, poetry to me would be, using language to express an emotion and a thought in a very condensed way, um, that's evocative, emotionally evocative, and how that's achieved is usually, like you said, using literary devices like metaphor and figurative language, and um, y- y- like there's like going back to Shakespeare, there's like looking at like the meter and the foot and iambic pentameter and all these other things that I really don't understand, even though I should. But there's a lot of different devices that go into what is thought of traditional poetry. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I think especially when you're talking about spoken word, it's not so easy to put your finger on because there is a lot of gray territory between what is pure poetry and what is, orature or storytelling or, like I said, stand-up-ish spoken word. So, yeah. Well, how
How
would you?
how you describe it? Well, for me, poetry is the right words in the right order to achieve the right effect, or probably the wrong words in the wrong order to get a desired effect. You know, either way. How you describe your spoken words or your style of writing?
Mm. Well, you know what I'm thinking about is how I describe it when I'm teaching. When I'm teaching students like what is spoken word, I'm always miming. I'm always doing this. It's like who you are, the essence of who you are, put into words, put out into the world, right? And so
It's
that,
beautiful.
yeah, you like that? I will define poetry with interpretive dance.
So you're gonna give me a sample of what is it you do?
A sample? Sure.
Yes.
Sure. Okay, so yeah, I'll do a poem. Well, this poem is it's a poem that relates to what we were talking about, like the history of spoken word. So yeah, and how it's been influenced by Black literary culture. So it goes like this. Seemingly innocent spirituals, to both master and overseer, they were merely words, simple lyrics, ingenuous hallelujah ballads. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home. Slate, like, is that a poem? Who knows? Is that a poem? What am I doing now? I'm singing. Is that a poem? That's not it. But these words were charms, incantations chanted in secret freedom code, surreptitious melodies sung by restless slaves. Chariot became train, became a rumbling underground, echoing over plantation field of cotton, tobacco, and cane. Gospels for safety, for shouts, never mind, battle cries would leave a brother dead cold in a heartbeat. Mothers with babies strapped to their bentineers snapped back, sung the unrelenting sun of the old South, and men with bodies worked hard then raw till they were little more than meat and bone recounted these so-called silly spirituals to both each other and God. God, they asked for strength. Each other, they asked for directions. Where to cross over that river and where to board the subterranean northbound train to freedom. Then came the blues, belting out anguish over injustice after emancipation failed to deliver the promised land. Instead, sending clansmen who strung up to lifeless one brother after another as law enforcers turned away and crosses burned till dawn. Dallas blues, Memphis blues, I ain't had nothing but bad news, crazy blues. Unabashed, these words laid claim to the pain of generations. Love was sought, found, then gone, gone, gone. But still, our history will not be undone. And so the young entered at their peril, the guarded gates of academia, living the vision of Booker T. Washington, where scholarly success meant abandoning one's own language, meant adopting the mother tongue of Uncle Tom. Until a hunger for our own vernacular mingled with the passion of romanticism and a new language was born. On the page, on the stages of smoky coffee houses, deep in the heart of Harlem. In this renaissance, we began to reclaim ourselves, began to own our newly found freedom to simply read and write out loud, to make love and meaning from our suffering, to live out loud, word by word, on our own terms. That's part of it, but that's enough, I think, for now, hey?
That was beautiful. I like the way how you use imagery. You always paint the picture And I like that. Or you can question yourself whether or not you made the right choice.
Oh, I don't know. It's always I don't know. Maybe it's just my nature. I'm very I can be very indecisive, and I can overthink things, and I think it's human nature too to wonder about the path you didn't choose, you know?
Stories, yeah, you like stories.
Hmm.
I kind
Yeah.
of get a story vibration from it as well, along with you painting the images. I love that. You know, I didn't expect that. I'm being honest. I expected more PH poetry.
Oh.
I
Ha ha
did.
ha. I would love to hear another one from you. I heard one when we were chatting, but I'd love to hear another one.
All right. She's simply beautiful. She reminds me of a nursery rhyme. She sells seashells by the seashore, but I'm sure that none is as fine as her ebony skin on the coastlines. Just a little touch from the sunshine on her pores grips her skin top and her magnificent stops into something the seas has never seen before. The ocean waved and smiled at her amazement and asked the moonlight to give him her silhouette to explore. The moon winked in agreement and said he'll grant the ocean's request. Shortly after her image surfaced, black, exquisite silhouette on the ocean surface for the seas to reflect. Horizon, nature yearns to explore. Her head crowned with a tiara of reef, birthright from the origin of creation, the natural selection, nature's Miss Universe, saw the world change because of an envious, jealous, and pale breeze. She felt against her skin, she
Mm.
felt against her melanin. With each breath it breathed from its throat came propaganda, propaganda that she was the inverse. She was uncrowned. The gust of wind put her down. It made her uncomfortable in her own skin. It silenced the memories of the days when the ocean would wear its best blue suit in pursuit of her naked beauty, no shells. It covered her ears. She could no longer hear the sounds of heaven's heart when it sing her praises, or when it felt like lightning and made a thunderous noise, waking up the tides. Not one wave was asleep, splashing, dashing at her feet, sand grain together. Sand grain. I can't remember. I mess up. And next time we finish it for you.
Got it, you got it, you got it. Wow. Wow, that was gorgeous. I love it. I love
You
it.
did?
The same, you got the
One day you'll hear the finishing.
yeah, okay, yeah, yeah. You got it?
Sorry?
You got it? Have you got the end of, have you remembered
I
the end
got it, but I wasn't planning on doing any poems, you know, but
either? But you put me on the spot, so
yeah, man. But it's been a while though, cause the whole COVID thing, I haven't been able to grace the stage, you know, along for it. How about you? You've been able to, cause Canada open though.
yeah, well, we're not, I don't know, like I haven't done anything live, but everybody just pivoted and just went, okay, now we're gonna do our events online. So, um, yeah, I think I've been to one thing where I actually went to the place, but even that was like there was no audience, it was broadcast. So everything's just gone online now. Everything's, yeah.
Yeah, it takes away something from the performance. I like performing with persons before me. It's a different energy, you know. Rather than talking to the phone, you know, I kind of enjoy actually having the audience as a part of the performance. When you're on the phone, it's a bit it's a, there's a barrier there, you know, and that barrier isn't there when you're performing with the live crowd. You know, it's like a feed from their energy, and they feed from your energy, and it's like an exchange of energy, and that's not possible over the phone. But I guess we have to adapt
Yes.
or evolve or evaporate. That's what them say, right?
But
So we
I
have to just adapt.
doing your poem there, like I felt like, even though it's just one on one,
Yeah,
there's different. Like when I was telling you my poem, it's like, it's different than if I'm just talking to the camera. I felt like I'm telling you, and when you were telling me, it was like, there was a sense of audience. But it's a different level. It's like more of an intimacy. But I agree. I find like talking to a camera can be just kind of strange and creepy, but
yeah.
And then technology, you know, as you've seen, is not necessarily my forte, that I know how this works all the time, but it's kind of exciting, you know, like I've wanted to like do different things. Like I've always been like, how does this Instagram live thing work? And I've been afraid of it. And I still would be if it wasn't for you saying we're doing this right now and not asking me, but telling. So it's like, you know, necessity is the mother of invention. But I love that. I want to just go back to that poem that you shared. I loved it was so beautiful, and I loved how you had the mix of like a bunch of things. Like you had, you know, you were talking about my imagery. Your imagery was so strong, and that like natural but kind of cosmic too. And then using that, like it was like a film, right? That I could see, you know, with the moonlight and the crown and everything. But then using that to make like a really strong political statement. I don't know if you could see my face, like because I'm looking at you and I'm seeing kind of my face is underneath. And I was like, I kind of caught out of the corner of my eye my smile draining because at, you know, there's like this celebration of the beauty of this woman, and then it's like you inflate her with your words, and you know, or you show her inflating herself, and then deflating, and it was so heartbreaking, and but this really strong um commentary on, you know, shadeism in culture, and how that affects women, and I thought it was super powerful.
How,
Yeah.
how how did you get that? Usually that's well hidden inside a poem. You're the first person to actually
Oh.
dive in and reach for it and take it out and present it to me. That's
Yeah.
usually well hidden.
Birds,
You're good. You're
yeah,
really good.
birds of a feather. Hey, birds of a feather.
Yeah, man, I can't believe it. You actually usually persons just see something else. But it's like you synchronize with my thoughts. It's like you can read my mind. You know, I like that.
How do other people see it? How what they didn't get that they political or what?
I
I mean,
think I think I think the most response I got is along the line of romance.
yeah,
Something, but it's more than that. It's deeper than that. That's
that was
just the surface.
yeah.
You know.
That,
But you went deep and find what's happening.
yeah. Well, it's funny. Like, you know what? It's funny. I'm thinking about that because my thought, as you're saying that, is, wow, that's not usually what happens to me. Because you know, I think too, like, there's different listeners and different ways of listening to a poem. And you know, when I've been teaching for a long time now. I've been teaching for over 20 years, and it's only recently, like in the last 10 years, that I've really kind of gotten like really comfortable with it. And I think part of it was having this feeling like I'm supposed to know more, or I'm supposed to catch everything when we're workshopping, and you know, like having these expectations of myself. And then I just, you know, when I stopped doing that and I realized everybody's different, everybody listens different, and I can only represent a listener like me. And usually how I experience a poem is like on an emotional level, and I'll have a depth. And maybe that's why I could tune into some of the things in your poems, because I feel like I'm a deep listener, but I'm not quick. So a lot of times if I'm hearing a poem and it's really quick and it's super cerebral, it'll be like and I'll miss a lot of it because I'm all feel in the feels of it, you know? So um but I think, you know, like this is kind of funny that we're going back to what we were saying before about poems that hit you on a different level. And I think about it like almost like I'd call it like an elevator poem, right? Like elevator literature is always the stuff that I love the best. Where on floor and get off on the ground floor and you can have a good time, or you can go up to the penthouse and you can get off on that floor and you can have a good time. So like the ground floor would be like the literal basic level, right? And it works for you there, and you can have an experience from, you know, hearing the poem or reading the book or whatever, just on the, you know, no subtext basic level. But you know, say you know, say, okay, for instance, somebody I was working with recently read a poem and it had all these political allusions that I did not understand because I just don't know that much about that kind of politics. And but if I did, I was like, once they explained it, I was like, whoa, you know, I would be like totally rock this of this piece of if I was that audience. And I think, you know, the best work is it doesn't matter what you know, you can still find a place to get in there. But the more you are able to hook into the sophistication of it, the better it is because there is somewhere to go. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess we get this. We'll go back on topic now. So I guess we get the Instagram experience out of the way. So we know how to when the time comes, you know how to connect, right?
No, I don't.
You still
All I know is you sent me an invite, or I don't know. What did I do? Oh, okay. So I looked across the top there and it said you were live, and then I click on it, and
Yes.
and then I sent you an invite. Is that what I did? I think that's what I
Yes. And that's it. That's it. In a nutshell, that's it. Nothing more, nothing less.
Okay.
That's it. You know?
Okay. So, and this is going to be a fashion show as well as.
As, poetry is a fusion of the arts. That's what poetry block is all about. We're about fusing the arts, you know. So in Jamaica, especially in Jamaica, when it comes down to poems, persons not I would say we're not excited about poetry. But when you fuse it with stuff that they're excited about,
Oh,
and they come to see that what they're excited about, and they hear poems, they usually stay for the poems, you know. So we fuse it with fashion, and you find a lot of young persons interested in fashion. When
yeah.
they come and hear the poems, they want to know more about poems, you know. So that's the idea behind what we do. So we fuse fashion and poetry and other art forms as well, just to get the interest of other persons, and usually it's the poem them stay for though.
And you're raising some money, right?
I'm not hearing it. Well, for this experience, because we're doing it for a children homes. We have a children homes. We want to raise 500,000 and see if we can donate that to the children homes. We have a PayPal account, so we have the audience of the night, if them wish, if them so desire, donate even $1 towards the experience.
Yeah.
I would say enjoy yourself and do it for a worthy cause.
Yeah. I dig it. I dig it. That's great. Well, I'm excited. Why did you ask me? How did you find me?
Um, I was on a poet. I think it's a Canadian poet's page, and I
Oh,
was looking at some persons who commented on his page, like or something, and I saw you, and I was reading through your poems, and I said, "What? Let me see if I can connect with her." So I'm just sending a connection, and I guess the universe wanted to be that way, so it is, you know.
I'm excited. It's really cool to, you know, to see. There you go again. Like the silver lining of the pandemic is, you know, just having the opportunity to, or I guess, I don't know, being on Instagram. That was something that it took me a while to kind of get to, but yeah, having this opportunity to like connect with this, you know, with young, talented Jamaican poet is it's really fun. It's really cool. It's great.
And I'm humbled by your description, you know. Thank you.
Oh, you're
And
welcome.
I believe you're way more intelligent than I am, you know, because on one listen you got everything.
Hey,
That's
dude,
impressive.
Plato. Okay, so you know, I'm like Plato. Okay, let me just like get myself together here. So yeah, yeah,
All
that's
right.
a great thing.
So we'll keep in contact, eh?
Yeah,
All right.
lovely. And so for the person who's on here, hello, thanks for being here. We have one person on.
Oh,
So,
I wasn't. Sorry, I didn't expect anyone on here because we're kind of this profile. I don't really use this one much. It's for a book club we have no we haven't finished with the first book as yet.
what's your other profile? Am I friends with you, or did I do that yet?
I believe so. It's food for thought.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm friends with you. Yeah, you sent me something. Okay.
Yes.
All
I'll
right.
I'll send- I'll send you a request to my personal page as well, so we can talk more.
That's
Hopefully, I can get a WhatsApp contact for you. Do you have WhatsApp?
no, no.
No WhatsApp?
No, it's I downloaded it, but I'm not doing that. I'm trying to really like
Hmm.
I don't know. I got this love-hate with social media, and I'm just gonna keep it really simple. I think I'm gonna start doing because I have WhatsApp, I never use it. I have Facebook, I never use it. I have Twitter, I never use it. And but Instagram I'm liking. So I think I'm gonna get my Twitter going and I'm gonna be Twitter, Instagram, but I have a YouTube page too now. So those three, that's enough.
You can send a link to me from me for your YouTube page.
It's my let me see. It's my website or it's on my website. So my website is I'll give you or it's
You'll
just my
send
name. AndreaThompson.ca is my website. And because the YouTube link is really long because I'm new, so I can't have like a shortened, or I don't even know how to do it really. Um,
send me the link inside of the message section on Insta.
Here, I'll just give you my website here. So it's AndreaThompson.ca. That's me. And if
That's
you,
you.
yeah, and it's on my page too, on my Instagram page. But if you go to my website and just go to like the main page, there's a little Instagram or a little YouTube link at the bottom.
Uh-huh.
You can click on that. That's how I find it because it's a really super long URL that like is very.
All right. So I'll definitely I'll check it out now. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to create the flyer for you. You send 3 photos, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I'm going to put together the flyer.
Okay.
Similar to the poster that we already have, just that your face will be on it and your name, okay?
Oh, I'm so excited. Yeah, I'll post that up.
Alright, so,
Yeah, whenever you're ready.
alright, so I'll have that prepared and I'll send it to you by now and tomorrow, okay?
Okay, well, no rush. I'm not gonna get it up that quick. When is the event? When is the event?
It's the 29th. The 29th.
Yeah, I've got it here at 5 p.m., right?
Yes.
Okay. And where, which Instagram identity is it?
Food for thought. It's food, FOOD
Yeah.
underscore 4, as in the number 4,
Okay.
underscore thought, underscore charity.
Okay.
What do you have?
Food for Thought Charity. Is it on my? But I'm friends with you already, so I just have to look for it happening across the top there, right?
Yes. I'll message you like maybe an hour before.
An hour before?
Yeah.
Okay. That's probably good. Give me some time.
Yeah, just remind me. Yeah.
Okay, cool, Maverick. Thank you. This is gonna be
All
fun.
right. Miss Thompson, we'll talk more, okay?
Okay, Mr. Maverick. Thank you so much.
All right. Blessings.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.